mayoral candidate will be on the general election ballot despite an attempt to block her candidacy by an ally of current Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who is.
Has this surprised you, how much the viewership has gravitated towards this woman? Like, people from all over the world are talking about her.
It's the kind of political drama you'd expect from a high-stakes TV series. But this story is all too real, and it's happening in the small South Chicago suburb of Dolton, Illinois. Mayor Tiffany Henyard, a name that has become synonymous with controversy, chaos, and defiance, was at the center of yet another jaw-dropping spectacle that left residents stunned. This time, it wasn't just about questionable decisions or political clashes. It escalated into a scene so outrageous that Henyard herself was forcibly removed from a public meeting and arrested right in front of her constituents. If you thought you'd seen it all in politics, think again, because what happened at that board meeting was the kind of drama you simply couldn't make up.
Mayoral candidate will be on the general election ballot despite an attempt to block her candidacy by an ally of current Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who is.
Let's rewind and set the stage. Henyard, who has been mayor of Dolton since 2021, has built a reputation for her unconventional and, let's face it, polarizing leadership style. From allegations of financial mismanagement to bitter disputes with village trustees, her time in office has been anything but smooth. But it wasn't just her controversial policies or leadership decisions that had people talking. It was her relentless defiance of both her critics and the rules of governance itself. Over the past year, tensions between Henyard and the village trustees had reached a boiling point, with constant clashes over appointments, finances, and her refusal to follow legal orders. The drama unfolding in Dolton has often felt more like a reality show than local government.
Well, she's one of the most recognizable faces that's been on the news lately. I'm talking about the mayor of Dolton, Tiffany Henyard.
And all of social media.
Yes.
The most recent chapter of this ongoing saga began with a routine trustees meeting held at the local Park District building. This meeting had been moved from the traditional village hall due to the sheer number of residents showing up not necessarily to participate in civic discussions, but to witness the fireworks that seem to follow Henyard wherever she goes. By now, Dolton's board meetings have become infamous for their chaos, drawing crowds eager to see what stunt or confrontation would happen next. And Henyard, ever the center of attention, didn't disappoint.
A mayoral candidate being challenged, the saga surrounding embattled South suburban politician Tiffany Henyard continues.
Instead of attending the official meeting, Henyard decided to host her own gathering at Village Hall, despite knowing she didn't have the required quorum to make it legitimate. Only 2 trustees showed up, far short of the number needed to hold a legal meeting, forcing her to cancel. But in true Henyard fashion, she wasn't about to take this setback quietly. She jumped into her car and headed straight to the Park District building, ready to crash the official meeting that was already underway. What happened next was the kind of political theater that left everyone in the room, and those watching online, completely stunned. Henyard stormed into the meeting uninvited, immediately disrupting the proceedings. Witnesses described the atmosphere as electric, with tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. From the moment she walked into the room, it was clear that her presence was unwelcome. Some attendees even turned their backs on her in a silent but powerful display of disapproval. But Henyard, ever the defiant leader, wasn't fazed. She grabbed a microphone and declared, "I am the mayor of the village of Dolton," as if to reassert her authority. However, the crowd wasn't having it. The room erupted into boos and shouts, drowning out her words and making it impossible for her to be heard. The scene quickly spiraled into chaos, with residents openly voicing their frustration and anger at her leadership.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard was not at the hearing here today. Neither was her attorney, and she was not made available for a comment.
Henyard's attempt to take over the meeting wasn't just a bold political move, it was a direct challenge to the trustees in a community that has grown increasingly weary of her antics. For months, she had been making unilateral decisions, including appointing key positions like the police chief and village attorney, without the trustees' approval. This defiance led to a court order explicitly barring her from making such appointments without the board's consent. But Henyard seemed determined to ignore the legal system entirely, which only added fuel to the fire. Her entrance into the trustees' meeting wasn't just disruptive, it was a calculated act of defiance that highlighted the deep divisions within Dolton's government. As tensions in the room reached a fever pitch, Henyard's behavior became more erratic. She reportedly clashed with officials present at the meeting, and at one point, things allegedly got physical. Witnesses described the chaotic scene as police officers, who had been stationed nearby in anticipation of trouble, were forced to intervene. What happened next shocked everyone. Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the youngest and first woman to hold the position in Dolton's history, was arrested. The live feed of the meeting, which had been broadcasting the entire spectacle, was abruptly cut off as she was taken into custody. It was a surreal moment seeing a sitting mayor being led away in handcuffs during a meeting she had tried to hijack. For many in the community, it felt like the culmination of months, if not years, of frustration and outrage.
You didn't run out of this the right way. Illegal.
But how did it come to this? To fully understand the gravity of this moment, We need to take a closer look at Henyard's tenure as mayor and the controversies that have surrounded her from the very beginning. When she was elected in 2021, Henyard positioned herself as a reformer, someone who would bring change to Dolton. But instead of progress, her administration has been marked by scandal and dysfunction. Allegations of financial mismanagement have dogged her since day one, with critics accusing her of using taxpayer money for lavish trips and personal expenses. One particularly troubling discovery was a single day of unaccounted Amazon purchases totaling $40,000. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Again, no comment from Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Voters here will first head to the polls in February for the primary election, then the general mayoral election.
Then there's the ongoing federal investigation into Henyard's administration. Subpoenas have been issued to Henyard, her allies, and even her defunct burger business, raising serious questions about potential corruption and misuse of public funds. Despite these mounting legal troubles, Henyard has continued to portray herself as a victim of political attacks. She's taken to social media to rally her supporters, framing herself as a fighter against entrenched interests. In one post, she called on her black sheep to stand with her, claiming that she was being unfairly targeted by her enemies. But for many residents, her actions speak louder than her words. Public reaction to Henyard's arrest has been swift and overwhelmingly critical. One resident commented, "This city will be so glad when she is out of office and politics totally." Another wrote, "It would have been wonderful to see Tiffany in handcuffs and placed in custody. Hopefully we will see the feds come get her." These sentiments reflect the growing frustration among Dolton's residents, who feel that Henyard's leadership has brought more harm than good to their community. The arrest has only deepened the divide between Henyard and her constituents, with many calling for her immediate resignation.
Of fights in Thornton Township and in Dolton, except in one case, Tiffany Henyard wants on a ballot, while in another, a Henyard ally was looking to keep her opponent off.
Henyard's critics have also pointed to the larger issues plaguing Dolton, which they argue have been exacerbated during her time in office. The village's financial struggles, highlighted by a multi-million-dollar deficit, have left basic services in disarray. Reports of unpaid bills, delayed infrastructure projects, and funding shortages for essential services like public safety have only fueled residents' anger. While she's out here creating chaos, the village is falling apart, one local resident remarked. Many believe that the ongoing dysfunction has driven businesses and families away from the area, leaving Dolton's future in jeopardy. Adding to the turmoil, Henyard's leadership style has created a culture of division within the local government. The constant infighting between her and the trustees has paralyzed decision-making, with some accusing her of prioritizing personal power over the needs of the community. Former allies have distanced themselves from her, claiming that her inability to work collaboratively has led to missed opportunities for progress. One trustee described the situation as a complete breakdown of governance, leaving residents to bear the brunt of the fallout. For many in Dolton, the message is clear. The village needs a leader focused on rebuilding trust and addressing the practical needs of its citizens, not one embroiled in endless controversy.
The vote is unanimous. The objector's petition has been withdrawn.
Can't do that. Can't contest everyone that come.
Despite the backlash, Henyard remains defiant. She has announced her intention to run for re-election, framing herself as a champion of the people who won't back down in the face of adversity. But her critics argue that her actions have done little to benefit the community. Instead, they say her tenure has been defined by chaos, scandal, and an inability to work with others. Senior trustee Jason House, who is running against Henyard in the upcoming mayoral race, has called for ethics reforms and a return to transparency in Dolton's government. House, a lifelong resident of the village, has positioned himself as the antidote to Henyard's divisive leadership, promising to restore trust and accountability.
With manipulation, nobody likes being manipulated. And when you get here, you know that's exactly what's happening.
As Dolton prepares for its next election, the stakes couldn't be higher. Henyard's arrest has cast a long shadow over her campaign, raising serious questions about her ability to lead. Can she recover from this latest scandal, or will this be the moment that finally ends her political career? And what does her arrest mean for the future of Dolton, a village already struggling with financial deficits and political dysfunction? For now, one thing is certain, the drama surrounding Tiffany Henyard is far from over. Residents and observers alike will be watching closely as this story continues to unfold. Will justice prevail? Or will Henyard find a way to bounce back yet again? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for all the latest updates on this wild political saga.